Okay, well, good evening, everybody. Here we are with another edition of Journeys of Hope, and I'm Linda Findley, and I'm here tonight talking to a real special lady who happened to join us on our last cruise in March, this past March, and her name is Jane Ford. So, welcome, Jane.
Hi.
Hi. First question, obviously you came on the bereavement cruise because you experienced a loss. So, would you like to share with us for a minute what your loss story is?
Sure. I lost my son, Chris, 7 years ago when he chose to end his life because of a lot of pain issues that he just couldn't deal with anymore. And so he just couldn't take it. And so he chose to end his suffering. And that was, well, it'll be 8 years by the time this cruise rolls around.
I'm so sorry for your loss. I think the loss of a child, it's not, something that you just get over with, and, it's not in the order of things. And then the manner of the loss is just so hard to deal with. When you first heard about the bereavement cruise, what was your thought about what it was all about?
Well, I knew it was a conference on a cruise ship, and I actually learned about it while I was at a Compassionate Friends weekend retreat, with Alan Peterson, and he had brought the postcards about it. And for me, the water is where I find peace. And as soon as I saw the flyer, I knew I just knew that was exactly where I needed to be. With other people that speak the same language, on the ocean where I find peace, in a conference where I would learn things, and just be with other people.
And that's so important, I think, being with other people, because I think that they're the only people who actually get it, especially
Mm-hmm.
this grief journey. People will say, "Oh, I'm sorry for your loss," and they really just don't know. They don't have an understanding of what is involved in that. So when you thought about going on the cruise, did you have any reservations about it, or something that you weren't too sure about, or you were just completely sure that this was something for you?
My only reservation was that I was going alone, so I needed to find a roommate, which you helped me do. But I was so blessed with the roommate that I got. God, well, I am a Christian, and I just knew that God wanted me to go on this cruise, and he just put the right roommate together. We put us together, and she had answers to questions that I needed at that moment in time that made things all right for me to experience. And he just knew exactly what I needed, and that was, I just don't know how else to say it.
Well,
For
I'm a
me,
Christian
that
too,
was
and
important.
I believe that, God puts people in our lives, and that's how he works to help us through tragedies. And there's no coincidence. I believe there's no coincidence to that. And I'm so glad that it did work out for you and your roommate. So once you got on the cruise and started experiencing, the program, experiencing being with other people who were there because they lost a loved one, did you feel comfortable? How did you feel once you got into the cruise and started, mingling amongst the people who were part of our group?
I felt very comfortable. Meeting you, I we had talked on the phone, so I was able to put a face to the name, so that was nice. And I was lucky that I knew Linda Sheldon fell ahead of time, so that I had that. But I knew that I was coming into a group of people who, again, spoke the same language that I did. And for me, that's what I was looking forward to, to be in a group of people where I could just be myself for a week, my real self.
That's important, your real self, because I think that oftentimes we walk around with a mask on our faces, kind of looking like we're just normal like we were before our loss, and then that's kind of hard to do. So how did you feel about the different workshops and sessions, and is there anything that sticks out in your mind that was particularly helpful for you?
Um, I went into there wanting to find a new normal, or to begin to find a new normal. And again, God's hand was in it for me, because a lot of the workshops were about finding a new normal, and also ways of healing, different ways of healing. And that's what a lot of the workshops were on, that too. And so everything just worked out perfect for me in this cruise. Um, it was exactly what I needed at exactly the moment that I needed it.
That just warms my heart for you to say that, because that's real important to us, that the people who join us, obviously we want them to get something positive out of this, because a lot of people, when we talk about bereavement cruise, a lot of people think, oh my gosh, that is just so sad, doom and gloom, your group's probably going to stand around all week and cry with each other, and that's just really not what we're about. We are about a message of hope, is what I like to say, and that's what we hope to share with the people who come with our group, is that sense of hope. And then I think the other thing that we hope, and what we've also been told, is that we do realize that joy and grief can coexist. Oftentimes when you're in the midst of your grief, you feel as though, some people feel as though, there's no joy in life anymore. So I think being on the cruise helps to facilitate that thought process, that, here I'm on a cruise, I can enjoy this beautiful ocean, or, a good meal in the restaurant, but yeah, I've brought my grief with me, and it's okay. And so I think that that's one of the reasons that it works so well. Is there, if you had to pick one thing, whether it was a workshop, any activity that we did, that was real special to you, that you really liked, can you pick just one thing that you really liked that we did as a group?
Well, before I answer that, I want to back up for just a minute. One of the things that that we did do quite a lot of is laugh.
Yeah.
We laughed, and it was okay, and it was good. And one of the activities that I enjoyed the most was going to see the comedian. And it was hilarious, and I laughed till I cried, and that was good for me. I needed that. And I went by myself, and it was good. It was just, you get to do what you need to do when you need to do it, or if you don't need to do something, then you can go do something that you need to do. So,
and I think that's a big part of it as well, is that it's very flexible. I tell people, either you can spend the entire time with the group, whether it be, connecting with other people, going to have lunch or on a shore excursion, or you can have a alone time or quiet time. There's no rules. It's the whole cruise in and of itself is an experience. It's a beautiful ship. And then there's, all the programming that we provide just for our group. If somebody says to you, or would say to you, Jane, why should I go on this cruise? What would I get from it? What is, like, a couple of sentences of what you would tell somebody is why they should go on the cruise?
I think you can find just about anything that you're looking for on it, whether it's the workshops, whether it's time away, the vacation, the time as if you're going as a couple, whether you're going alone. I think there's just something, no matter what you're looking for, you can find it, or at least begin to find it.
Was there anything that surprised you on the cruise that maybe you weren't expecting?
Yeah, I was surprised that I felt peace for the first time in 7 years.
You've shared that with us, and that's beautiful. And I've actually shared that with people with your permission. I know that you said that we were welcome to do that, and people are just like, wow, because again, that piece, not having that, and how have you felt with that since you've returned home, with that feeling of peace?
Um, well, I've had some stuff go on at work that kind of interrupted my peace. um, so, but things are straightening out now, and so I'm hoping to get back on the right path. Um,
And,
so
and you will. Hopefully, some of the coping skills, we did talk about having your toolbox and going home with your toolbox. So hopefully, there was some things that maybe you brought home with you that you can try or revisit to help you to get back to that place. And nobody's going to be in that place all day, every day for the rest of their lives. You know what I mean? That would just be the perfect world. So I think there's just a lot to be said about the fact that, you really felt that sense of, for the first time in a very long, that's a long time to not feel any sense of peace. And I'm sorry
right,
that's, been your experience for you. But you are joining us again in April of
yes.
2020, and we're so glad to have you and just so honored that you'll be coming back and spending that week with us. Um, what other final thoughts would you have wrapping up our discussion today, as far as something that you would want somebody to hear who might be listening to this interview thinking about they might go on the cruise? Just a summary of a thought of any sort.
I think the most important thing that I learned, and it took me a couple days before I got it. And what helped me get to that peace was I stopped worrying about things, worrying about if I was on time, or worrying about if I should go to this conference, or worrying about, my roommate, if I needed to wait up, just I stopped worrying. Um, Worrying about, was I doing the right thing about going to this shore excursion, and I decided I was just going to be.
Mhm.
And I went to the conference when I showed up, and most of the time I was on time,
Mhm.
because I wanted to be, but I laid on the deck and I went to the beach, and I didn't worry about anything except for calling my husband when we went into port. But I just didn't think about anything. I didn't even go to the shows because I didn't want to worry about time
Yeah.
or anything. And I just sat in my room with my roommate, who was wonderful, and we just sat and talked. And sometimes I played games. I just learned. When I talked to my husband, I would tell him I was bored, which concerned him, but it was a good bored. It was, it was a, it was the kind of bored that, it was a healing bored. I don't know how else
It's
to
like there's
explain
not
it
all that
except,
other noise going on, whether it's the
right.
noise in your mind or the noise around you. There's something to be said about settling that and turning that off, so that you're not thinking, you're not, overthinking things or worrying, like you said, because that's just, and again, we tell people, you show up with your drink or your food or whatever it is that you want, and you come and go as you please. And I think that's really important, that people allow themselves to do that. So I think that's a really good piece of information that hopefully somebody else will, listen to and be able to remember if they need to. Um,
Yeah.
so do you have any other final comments you'd like to share?
And I went and got my hair done,
Oh, there you go. Yeah, that's always a treat. Yeah.
and went and let him, take care of my hair, and because I was feeling bad about my hair, and it was really bothering me. And so I thought, I think there was something in the conference was said about, you know, feeling good about yourself. And so I thought, I'm going to do it. And so you
Yeah.
can edit this out.
No, one
Um,
of the benefits of being on a cruise with a salon, you didn't have to wait to
right,
make an appointment for 2 weeks from then, you know?
right. And so,
That's a
you know,
good
I
point.
just pampered myself and, you know, but I mean, that was the best thing, was just to be able to, just to be, you know, that's all I can, that's, that's all I can just, that's all I can, how I can describe it, I guess.
Well, and you've done a wonderful job describing everything. And I really appreciate you taking the time to sit with me and talk about the cruise. You know, we just keep trying to create awareness of the cruise and spreading word about it so that hopefully the people who need to find us will find us and go on the cruise, you know. And I think too, again, I think that's, for me, I always say that I believe that that everything's in God's hands. And I believe that he knows who needs to find us and he's going to make that happen. And to me, I'm like, I don't care if it's 10 people or 200 people, it's whoever God sends to us that really need to spend that time with us. So I'll be honored to welcome you on board in April. I know that we're going to have a wonderful week. We've got some really nice things planned. You know, some of the presenters are going to be there. We've got a lot of new presenters, and I just think it's going to be another wonderful week to spend with our group. So I thank you for your kind words and for sharing your experience with the cruise. And for those of you who might be interested in joining us, our website is www.j3hhh.com. And the cruise does sail April 19th to the 26th out of Cape Canaveral, Florida. So you can get on our website and get all the information. You can call me. I have my telephone number on there and email. And there's a form that you can send in to request more information. So thank you, everybody.